What's happening, YouTube? Anthony on Power Rangers Lost a Galaxy fan film with a brand new PRLostGalaxy 2014 review. And today we're taking a look at McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Collector's Edition Grid from Forever Evil. This was a huge figure. This is like my very first over 7-inch tall DC figure I ever owned in my collection. It is massive. I had to get this off of Amazon when he was on clearance for about like $18 or $13, something like that. Between that, when he was on a limited time clearance sale online, because he looks like one of many of McFarlane's DC figures that are peg warmed, and it's one of those many figures that people weren't buying as much, and I find it as a very underrated figure. And well, his design looks pretty cool, but he just looks like a really underrated figure to me. Got him over the summer hiatus, by the way, and I had him in storage for a while, so I'm going to go ahead and review him anyway. So here's the front of the package, featuring the metallic collector's edition, you know, font and everything, like I did with my collector's edition Year 2 Batman a while ago. And then, yeah, so this is the side showing more metallic, and then the comic book artwork of Grid from Forever Evil, because I'm like, jeez, man, I gotta take a look at this dude. And since this is Halloween season, after all, going over the chilling with the villains and whatnot for Halloween. So with that being said, I'm glad I saved him 6 months for the occasion. Let's unbox and open up and take a look at him in this review. Man, this dude is huge. Okay, everybody, let's take a look at Grid real quick, and let's go over all of his accessories. So as you should know, like with every DC Multiverse figure from McFarlane, you get a base stand with the joint put on the bottom of the toe of one of the legs, feet of the figure, and featuring a metallic silver DC 2016 logo. And then you also, for the first time, I think for the first time ever in my collection, that I would ever have a display stand with the DC Comics logo for your trading card, file card of what character you're displaying. I wish that McFarlane would do more of this for when you display file cards for what version of these DC characters it is. That's a cool feat, because when I bought this figure, I knew that this accessory was going to come with it, where you can put the the file card on this little display piece. And here is the trading card for Grid, featuring the render we saw on the back of the package for the figure. And then this is detail on who he is on the back of him. So it says here, Grid was a software program that gathered information for Cyborg. This program grew and evolved into a living computer virus. It is a new malevolent form, the sentient form of an artificial intelligence, AI for short, attacked the Justice League, forming an alliance from Earth 3's crime syndicate. So this is what this guy is all about. So he was basically a computer virus and an AI, artificial intelligence AI that gather information on Cyborg, because this is one of those few instances in the DC universe or DC Multiverse where Cyborg will be a part of the Justice League, and not every once in a while be part of the Teen Titans. It makes me wonder, why didn't we get a character like this in the 2003 Teen Titans animated series or Young Justice is Beyond Me. Okay, so that's his display piece. I really do need to talk about this giant Goliath of a figure on Grid, because he looks really badass and awesome. He has quickly become one of my favorite action figures of 2025. So here is his overall figure, and if I had a ruler, he's got to be somewhere like 12 inches tall, because he is that fucking tall like that. I'm like, geez, damn, McFarlane, you have really outdid yourself with this guy. Yeah, with his color scheme and everything, he looks like somebody that would have been in the Snyderverse if Zack Snyder's Justice League and the entire DC, his DCEU had continued and had a trilogy, and also if Cyborg had his own movie in the DCEU. This is the kind of villain that would have existed in the DCEU for a Cyborg movie with Ray Fisher in the role. He would be the great polar opposite of Cyborg for that universe. It would have been great. But man, this is so freaking, this is definitely one of my favorite figures of 2025, and one of my favorite McFarlane DC figures I've ever collected so far too. Because when I bought this figure, I know he was a peg warmer, but damn it, he just looks so freaking awesome. Just look at his malevolent evil design, and just like, he got this giant cannon arm thing, and yeah, that's real cool, McFarlane. That is real damn cool. And then the way how he also looks, he comes off looking something like if he ain't part of the DC universe, it would have been great if he resembled something that would belong in, like, let's say Resident Evil or something, because he looks a lot like that monstrous villain character that's always on the front cover of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis when you think about it. We need to take a look at his, you know, just look at his chest armor and just everything. Man, okay, let's take a look at articulation. So, as you should know, his head does turn all the way. Nope, especially due to the back collar piece, you're not going to. So his head just turns left and right. Tilting his head is a bit limited. You can still tilt his head up and down, but it's a little limited though. And then what about, well, McFarlane's figures don't have butterfly joints all that very well, but especially on this figure, no butterfly joints on this figure. Then the abdomen crunch. His abdomen crunch is really, so that's his abdomen crunch feature right there. Then what about his elbow crunch? Due to that gigantic arm cannon, you're not going to do much of a huge, you're not really going to flex his elbow and his arm on this arm very well, because also due to the heavy weight of the arm cannon for Grid, so you're not going to do that, unfortunately. However, you can sort of get a steady elbow crunch on the left arm. Well, that's one thing, because the arm doesn't have a cannon to it, but this one does. Okay, what about the spreading of the legs? You can spread the legs like you would. And then knee crunch. Now, knee crunch was a little tough and hard, but I just got to keep tweaking around so I can get his joints together and going. So that's his knee crunch feature on this leg. And then the knee crunch feature, now I know this is a little tough on this leg, but I got it. So here's the knee crunch on this leg. And then ankle pivot and toe flip. Ankle pivot and toe flip. You can flip the toes. Okay. I try to get his left foot to stand so he can stand still. It was like all inverted, like, you know, this, but before reviewing, I had to try to push it so he can stand steady, like he got gout or something, like I kind of do on my foot at the moment. And this is how his foot was when I had him out of the box. But if you try to I don't try to break his foot was a little stuck, you know, trying to keep him steady and upward. And there you go. Just try to get him going, because he's just a big figure. He's like one of the biggest villain figures I ever owned in my DC collection. I'm like, wait until I get others in the future, because even though they're going to be very expensive. But why is this for a near 12-inch figure? Why is he a peg warmer, and why did I pay him for 13 bucks? Maybe because he wasn't really being bought as much. People wasn't paying for him as much. Didn't care about him, so that's why he was a peg warmer, because I don't think not many collectors or many people who know their DC comics know about Grid all that much. You know, if this was like, let's say, Metallo from Superman, I could see that, but this is not that character. It's a character that's related to Cyborg, but, you know, has fought the Justice League and wherever, you know, in that Forever Evil book that he came from. This is a really badass looking figure. Now, I may have the display stand and all, but he can stand just fine without, because he's a big figure. He's like, well, now let's compare him to, like, let's say a Marvel Legend, and let's say, well, the only Marvel Legend that could have been. Now, because again, because with, like, let's say, compare him to She-Hulk and Darth Malgus from Star Wars, and let's take a Halo figure. I mean, even compared to, you know, when you compare Grid with these three figures I picked out in comparison, these three don't stand a chance against Grid's stature. Because Grid looks like he's about like 10 inches tall. I thought he looks like he's 12, but no, he's like 10 inches tall. If I had a ruler and measure him and measure his height compared to other action figures I own. And I also forgot in my Darth Malgus review, Malgus is like 7 inches tall. Okay, so let's put Grid away, and let's put Spartan Mark 7 away. She-Hulk. Okay. So that's it for my review on Grid. And this is definitely 2 thumbs up. One of my favorite, this is up there with Azrael Batman as one of my favorite DC Multiverse figures of 2025. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, drop a like, share this video with your friends. I'll see you guys next time.